We are Rogue Media Sports.
I mean, this guy, we're counting down to the show, and Pete Souza comes in the studio and says, 15 seconds to what? I mean, really? 15 seconds to the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network, starring me as Cam. Cam Stewart's playing Cam today. Zach Burke keeping us on the air, and really, in a lot of ways, keeping us alive. Pete Souza will be on later in the show. But as we count down, he'll have the same question Ricky Waters had. For who? For what? Did anyone ever correct Ricky, by the way? It is for whom, right? For whom the bell tolls. It should be for whom, for what? Ricky. Did they teach you that at Notre Dame? Anyway, we will be talking plenty of football here in this first segment. I'm now, in a weird way, completely fascinated by the Patriots. Like, in some ways, they are boring because they do the same crap every week. But in some ways, that just fascinates me. It fascinates me how much, with this roster that they've got right now, how much seems to be on the coaching of this team. It's really bizarre to me. I do want to get Zach's opinion on one thing before we go into this Patriots thing. Zach, where does he's working on something? This is the problem. Zach, he's working. He's constantly keeping us on the air, and it's tough for me to just throw it to him because the man is absolutely firing on all cylinders right now. But Zach is a big time Texans fan, unlike Mike. So they were both Oilers fans, and Mike adopted the Titans, which I've told him it feels odd. Feels odd, but he's stuck with it. Zach, which was what most Houstonians did, became a Texans fan when they came into the league. Does he agree that they have one of the dumbest names in the league? Yes, he agrees. Does he think their logo is all that great? No, he doesn't. But he's a Texans fan through and through.
Sorry, I was getting some weird interference I was trying to figure out, but we're good there now.
Weird interference, defense.
Yeah.
Ball will be spotted at the place of the foul.
I don't think – here's the
Place
thing.
at the
I was
spot of
happy
the
that
foul.
they added some new
all right, but beyond
refurbish
that,
of it. Yeah,
beyond that, what we saw yesterday was a mockery. In fact, John McClain, who has been covering Houston football for nearly 50 years, said it was the biggest cheap shot he's ever seen. Where does that rank for you? That was pretty ugly, man.
It was.
Trevor Lawrence going down. He's
Yeah.
clearly giving himself up. How do you say this guy's name? The corner or the safety linebacker or whatever. Well, I think he was a linebacker, actually. I don't know how to say his name. Just cleans his clock.
Aziz Al-Shahir.
That's it. See, I would have been tripping over myself trying to say that, like you trying to say Aqib Talib off the air earlier. It would have been the same
I knew
thing.
who we were
man.
talking
I
about.
I know, but it was tough to say the name, right? This was pretty bad. How do you because this happens to every team. But take me through that moment yesterday where that happens, and it's like your team. You're an adult, but
Yeah.
your team, your guys, and you're like, damn, cannot defend that at all.
No, and here's what's odd is because
I
had spent the day before watching Michigan and Ohio State just feel the need to go all at it there in the middle of the field after that game was over. So at first it was just kind of like, man, I'm seeing a lot of fights this weekend. But like I understand in a sense of like why the Jags, players did what they, like you have to stick up for your team. The hit, ended up leading to another concussion potential. I know he was taken out for that. But like it was a late hit. It did not look good. Like you had to understand where the Jags come from. And so like, yeah, it was kind of up there a bit. It was, I don't know.
You know what big takeaway I had from that hit, that video, and really the early NFL slate yesterday in general is I see that hit and there's that melee on the sidelines. And I think you're going to be able to agree with me here, or you're going to agree with me here. You're always able to agree, but I think you're going to agree with me. But they show the sideline, and this guy for the Jags, who's not dressed, he's in street clothes, is wearing this hat that's like plaid. And I've started to notice some other teams will have worn these on the sidelines. And I go back to the Patriots-Colts game, and the Colts coach is wearing one of these like mesh but not mesh hats with the rope here and a weird kind of circular crest logo. All the teams have them. Gerard Mayo wears them for the Patriots. But theirs is like a crest with that weird new C in there. And I got to noticing that, like, we have strayed way too far away from good NFL sideline gear. Like, we are so far away from that now. It's ridiculous, man. And it goes down to college too, because it's Nike. And I see it in Baylor games. You'll see it with NFL teams. They got like those classic coaches, like short sleeve jackets. And all it has is one trim, and it just says the team name in block letters. And that's it. So I tweeted about this yesterday, and I get someone tweeting back that's like, yes, we need to go back to, like, class has always been good. And it's like pictures of Tom Landry and Hank Stram and these guys with their suits on. I'm like, I don't need that. I need like starter gear. I mean, like, what happened to that from the 90s?
Like the big puffy starter jackets?
Oh, any of it, bro. Any of it. The bomber jackets, the puffy jackets, the shark tooth hats, the static shock hats. Just something that looks a little different, man.
Yeah, it is kind of all generic now.
And it's been slow march towards this. I mean, most of my lifetime has been more towards the, all right, let's get more clean, as in just like one logo on there, nothing crazy kind of thing. And it sucks. I mean, I see the Baylor coaches a couple weeks ago. They're wearing, again, those short sleeve jackets, and they're black jackets with white letters that say Baylor. And I'm like, that could be any team in America.
Just change the, yeah.
Yes. It doesn't even have your team colors on it. It happens in the NFL too. Like, it's too bad, Zach. I think you'll agree with me here.
I will. Maybe it's the Brooklyn.
I pushed you towards it,
but
yes.
Maybe it's the Brooklyn Nets who initially started it way back then, where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go classic." When in reality, it was simplistic, and I guess it worked for them at the time. But you saw other teams kind of be like, "Oh yeah, we can do that too." But there has been just like a paring down, like you said, of like one clean look. Like, we have one logo that's the brand for the whole, for the whole team, and we're going to use that on everything, or as generic of stuff as we can have. And I don't know if it's like a manufacturer thing where all they can do is just go and easily switch out.
Maybe, I mean, yeah, Nike, I guess they just want templates.
Yeah, maybe Nike's like, oh, we're going to make the same like black jackets for all of our like, college teams that we use, and all we have to do is go in and just change out the font of what it says over the pocket.
It's just so dumb, man. It's what I was saying about the basketball jerseys last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Nike just runs out of ideas, and people will buy it because, you know why? Because it's comfortable, and so people will buy it. I mean, comfortable in a psychological sense of, what you're getting and you can pull it off, but also like I think like it is just comfortable. Yeah. Yes, dry fit stuff is comfortable, which sucks. And you go on eBay, dude. See what those shark tooth 90s hats are going for. They're going for like $150 a pop, man. People want that. Like, it was cool. It was out there. Some of it didn't land, but I think that's where you need to be. And that's a problem to me. Is the sideline gear is just nowhere near. And linking it back to this Patriots game yesterday, the Colts. Cool. What did you say?
I said those are cool. I had to look them back up to remember what they looked like. Yeah,
they're pretty cool. It's the one with the zigzag on the top. Anyway,
you can get a Jazz one for like $20 if you want that.
The Indianapolis Colts should not have any piece of clothing with that stupid C on it. I don't even know what it's obviously a C, but I don't even know what it really signifies, other than it's the first letter of the word Colts. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the NC laid over each other for North Carolina, which I saw someone on Twitter legitimately said the other day that they just noticed that that's what that was.
Yeah.
They thought it was just a cool design for a logo. I'm like, no, it's idiot. But the Colts, like the Colts, the horseshoe is totally synonymous with that team. You know exactly what you're getting. What does the C do for anybody? I remember the Carolina Panthers used to have a hat like that with like the cursive C. And it's like, no, you have a pretty kick-ass logo that you know exactly what you're talking about. Are you seeing what I'm seeing here with the C?
Yeah,
I think it's like the Indiana outline in it.
It is.
But it's
I
so
found the
freaking
explanation,
stupid,
if I
man.
can pull it up here. real quick.
Please do. Because then I'm going to talk about the actual Colts team.
Well, I say that.
I'm not good at killing time, Zach.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, it has an explanation of like what everything's for. That the C is taken. You know what? Here, I'll just do the share screen. We'll do it that way. I can't get it to pull up, so this will be easier. Here we go.
This is great.
I know it's
right
great.
here.
There you go.
Okay, can you read it for me? Because I cannot see it.
So it says that the C is taken from our new word mark and provides an evolved,
Which
more
word marks are
modern look.
stupid. Word marks are very fucking stupid. The Patriots one is way worse than it was 10 years ago, and Pete's Eagles one is way worse, and they had a great one. So I don't get it. But anyway, go ahead. That's a root of all of this, by the way.
Grommets, the 7 grommets mirror those found on our iconic and timeless horseshoe. And then it's the shape of Indiana. The outline of Indiana is carved out.
But now you just got like polka dots on the C. Nobody knows that. Oh, that looks like the grommets from the horseshoe, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit with a C like it does with a horseshoe. Anyway, is that it?
Yeah, that's all they have on that for the C.
So dumb, man. That's so dumb. And they're not the only team. I mean, plenty of pro teams and college teams are trying to shoehorn in these weird secondary logos. I watched a Kentucky football game the other day, and they've got some Wildcat logo on their shoulder. I'm like, you have it. It's already been done for you. Like, the branding has already been done. Like 60 years ago, the UK, the interlocking UK, everyone knows that's Kentucky. You throw out that weird cat logo thing and you're like, what the hell is this? The Patriots lost to the Colts in those stupid, with the coaches wearing those stupid C logos on their hats on the other side. Patriots were decked out in a classic look, of course, the red throwbacks with the Pat Patriot helmet. And while we're talking about uniforms, people have been clamoring for that to become the uniform again. And I think I've told this to you, Zach, on this show. Like, I hate when teams are automatically just like, oh, let's just go back to the identity that we already had. I don't love that. Like, I don't like that the Hornets did that, but it covered up the fact that the Bobcats was a stupid name. I don't mean to offend anyone in the room that worked for that organization. But like, for the most part, I'm like, no, like, don't do that. Have an alternate or something. But sometimes it just makes too much sense. Like, whatever the hell the Anaheim Ducks are wearing now is nowhere near as good as the purple and green duck mask.
I always thought it was maroon, but yeah.
Then purple?
I thought it had a little bit more red to it.
I mean, it's
like a burgundy
it's close
kind.
to a burgundy, but I think it's purple.
Okay.
I think that's true. And now they've tried to shoehorn it back in with this weird, like, black and orange. I'm like, no, you had it. You had it, and for some reason you lost it. You fumbled it yourself. That's where I think the Patriots are at right now. The Brady era uniforms, I loved them. I thought they were great, striking even. But this regular home and away set they've got now, it sucks. Okay, like, I don't mind if they just go back to this color scheme with the Pat Patriot. I don't think that would hurt anybody. And there are people out there that are like, oh, well, it brings you back to a time where the team sucked. It's like, yes, okay, that was most of their history. But they did play in a Super Bowl in these uniforms. Like, I think that gets overblown a little bit, just how bad the Patriots were. There were pockets where they were pretty bad, but like, they did play in a Super Bowl wearing those. They got crushed, but they had some of the best victories ever in those uniforms. And you know what? More than anything else, it looks good. And if you're worried about what you're going to wear in a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't think you'll run into that issue. So, and I don't know if it's the HD TV or the way that Nike makes their uniforms. See, here again, do their uniforms look great? Not as great as they used to, but they look like the feel of it's really cool. And I think the red uniforms look even better now with that tight, kind of sleek, dry fit look. And they look badass, man. I think you should just go back to those, especially the Pat Patriot logo. Like, I don't know, you want to put the flying Elvis somewhere, I get it, but the Pat Patriot logo is the best. Were you pointing to something there?
I didn't know if that's what the image was for.
Oh, no, we'll get to this image.
Okay.
So the Patriots lose. They have proven that, yes, you can lose to Anthony Richardson. That is possible in this league. I didn't think it was possible, but here we are. The Patriots played the Colts off the park yesterday. They left at least 10 points out there on the field, and they lose on a last-minute 4th and goal touchdown and ballsy Shane Steichen 2-point conversion call that gives the Colts a 25-24 victory and keeps them in the AFC playoff picture. This team, they can't just lose normal. They just find new ways to lose. They will hook you into thinking that you're going to win a game. And most Patriots fans are sitting out there saying, no, glad we lost. We need the draft pick. I get that, and it's probably for the best. But when I am dialed in on a Sunday afternoon and I've got a show to do afterwards to break down the game, and I have planned my day around this, and they kick off a football, I'm sorry. I want the Patriots to win the game. And they should have won this game yesterday. No excuse to not win this game. But what it comes down to, again, is coaching. Unbelievably, as bad as this roster is, they're losing games on coaching. It boggles the mind that with as bad as the crop of players you have, that's what it comes down to. But we saw it twice in this game. We see it every week with this team, but twice in this game where they get far too conservative and it kills them. The end of the game, or I shouldn't say the end of the game, the fourth quarter, about 7 minutes left, you get a pick from Christian Gonzalez right at about midfield, and you're just playing it conservative. You're playing not to lose. You're playing with the mindset that a punt is not a bad play, and you're up by 7 points. At that stage in the game, punt is not the worst thing to happen to you, but it's not a good play. You don't want to be punting there. You've got a team down, and you're up by 7 with a short field, the 50-yard line. And yet it's run, 3rd down and 11, pass, and maybe something will happen. But you're going to bring extra blitzers on this offensive line, and look what happens. It was a sack. Like that's not giving your offense a chance. And it happened at the end of the first half too, where you got a goal-to-go situation, and you went run. And it leads to a 26-yard field goal that you miss. Somehow you're missing that. Which is, I mean, the irony is delicious that at the end of the game, they're attempting what would be an NFL record 68-yard field goal for the win. And it is right on line, right down the middle, but anywhere between 3 and 5 yards short. So Joey Sly was dead on from like 65 yards, but from 26, he shanks it. And it's looking at the holder like, oh, what's going on? Perfect hold. Nothing wrong with the hold. So those things piss me off. But back to the conservative play calling. Correct me if I'm wrong. Drake May is your best player. Like far and away the best player on your team. And so why, in these crucial situations, goal-to-goes, coming off a turnover, trying to extend a lead both at the end of the first half and at the end of the game, why are you taking the ball out of his hands? And again, trying to establish that you're a running team. I do not understand this. Because, Zach, if we pull up the picture here from the game, you will see a perfect microcosm of the Patriots in 2024 as to why they are not a running team. Look at this. This is in the first half. It is a 3rd and 1. Then they're handing off to Ramondre Stevenson, and there are 6 Colts back there in front of the line to gain, not being blocked. 6 of them. How do you draw up a play quite that poorly? I don't know. How do you get 6 runners on him? Look at that. He's 4 or 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage there, and there's at least 3 guys waiting for him. And 6 waiting before that line to gain. Like, you're telling me that's a running football team? That's a manly, establish the run kind of football team? That is the Patriots in 2024 right there. Right there. Take it off the screen. I can't look at it anymore. It's making me sick. It's making me fucking ill looking at that. Jesus. But talk about the points left on the field, man. I think it was 4 red zone trips in the first half, and only one of them turned into a touchdown. But a couple of field goals, you miss one from 26. Sly hits one from 50 and then misses one from 26. I don't get it. I don't get how that's a thing. And you're leaving just points after points after points. I mean, you could talk about the 4-point plays that happen in the red zone, but you miss a 26-yarder. That's an automatic 3 points. You had a touchdown called back on a holding call. I thought the Patriots were going to set the NFL record for red zone holding calls in this game. They might well have. I'm not sure what that record is, but they were seriously coming after it. One holding call literally takes a touchdown off the board. So there's 4 points right there because you only got a field goal out of it. And you're leaving points left, right, and center. I mean, there's a wacky pick in this game that isn't really anyone's fault, I guess. I mean, if it's anyone, it's Hunter Henry. But you're hitting Henry at the goal line, and it bounces up like 3 times while he's on his back, and they pick it off. There's 7 points you left out on the field right there. Can't do that in this league. You absolutely not even against Anthony Richardson. But to also allow an 80-yard, 19-play scoring drive in which the Colts converted 3 fourth downs in that final drive, you don't deserve to win anything. And if you had stopped them on the 2-point conversion, that would have almost been, not fitting. So they were 3 for 3 on 4th down and converted a 2-point conversion. So essentially 4 for 4 on 4th downs on that last drive. Anthony Richardson is the quarterback, by the way. Did I mention it's Anthony friggin' Richardson that did this against you? Like, have some pride, man. Have some shame. Good Lord. And they were like begging to not keep the drive alive. Remember, they kept going 10, 15 yards downfield. They couldn't complete anything. He couldn't throw it into the ocean. The Patriots actually had some good plays. And yet, they cannot stop them when it freaking matters. The Patriots had 170 more yards of total offense than the Colts yesterday. 170. How do you lose that game? Well, it helps that you also had 73 more penalty yards than the Colts did. Like, I'm sorry. That is coaching. When the roster sucks week after week, that is coaching. Like, how can you not get these guys to line up right or not illegally shift or not false start or not hold? That is coaching when it's the same problem week after week after week. And I'm seeing plays where Ben Johnson is drawing up a tackle-eligible Penei Sewell to throw a pass. And I'm sitting here, we're stuck with this shit week after week after week. Oh, that is coaching. I'm sorry. I know there's plenty of people out there that want to defend the head coach because it's his first year and he played with the Patriots, but there's been nothing from Gerard Mayo, nor anything from Elliott Wolf or DeMarcus Covington, the defensive coordinator, that I'm like, you know what? That is the direction that we need to go in. And the only thing that's saving Alex Van Pelt's ass is how good Drake May is. Because I can't sit here and say that he was such a project coming into this year, most raw of those 3 quarterback prospects, and then say, oh, well, Alex Van Pelt hasn't done anything. Like, no, the kid's doing pretty well. So clearly there's some development there from Alex Van Pelt. But this is a coaching issue on this team other than the fact that they need a complete roster overhaul. I do want to point out one play in this game that has nothing to do with the outcome, but shows you how stupid the NFL can be sometimes. So this is a play that Gerard Mayo is going to have to challenge. It's a quarterback run from Drake May, not a designed run, on a 3rd and 1. Can we get the video here, Zach? So here's the play, clearly over the line to gain. And what if I told you that play, even in 2024, with replay assist at all times, that play was called a sack behind the line of scrimmage and short of the line to gain? Zach, can we see it one more time? That was ruled a sack with replay assistant there. And with a guy right at the line to gain, with an official right there, that was called a sack. Gerard Mayo had to challenge that. Like, what are we doing? Are you kidding me with that? Anyone with a brain can see that was a first down. Oh, anyway, frustrating game once again for the Patriots. Like, I know this is going to be for the best that they're not winning these games. I thought the same thing about the Giants game last year where Ryland missed a chip shot to win the game or to tie the game, send it into overtime. That ended up being a great thing. She got Drake May. So hopefully that's the case again this year. But it's frustrating as holy hell that they're finding new ways to lose every single week. And most of it is because they can't coach a team to not commit a penalty every other play. The Bruins had a hell of a celebration yesterday, and some would say, the experts would say, they are undefeated this century of Bruins hockey. We'll catch you up on it next on the Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe
More relaxed. What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft for him?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
It's the Cam Show. It's Rogue Media Sports Network. We are winding down the amount of Cam shows that will be here in the studio, actually, which is sad. I love this studio. Love the posters, the old pictures I can find of Pete. Those are neat. Those are interesting. And just having Zach right here be a bummer. I'll be able to see you.
Yeah.
Well, the show will go on.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I guess
still
it should
pop on by, I guess.
Yeah. So we'll be in through Wednesday this week. Thursday and Friday we will not be here, and then back on Monday. Back to business as usual on Monday. I just won't be in the studio. I got to figure out what my studio is, actually. That could be a point of contention. Anyway, they finally did it. The Boston Bruins finally celebrated their centennial on Sunday. More like it was the 15th time they've done it, but this was the actual 100th anniversary of their first ever game against the Montreal Maroons back in December of 1924. So they take on the Habs yesterday, and it's a really neat ceremony. I got some FOMO. There was a whole fan fest going on in Boston. They had all the legends out there. They had the Stanley Cup there. Just a really cool, like, I'm obviously a sucker for sports history and the Bruins in particular. So like I was really tuned into that. Pretty dumb to do it right in the middle of an NFL Sunday afternoon. Like, whose idea was that? I get it. It's December 1st. That's the 100th anniversary. You could also play at 7 p.m. No one's stopping you from doing that. Instead, they did it at 3:00 Eastern time in just the middle of an NFL game day, and more importantly, a Patriots game, like the fourth quarter of a Patriots game, a one-possession game, And here are the Bruins with, Johnny Busick's walking out there trying to do this whole big ceremony, which was great. All the greats were there except for Chara, which seemed odd. I think Chara still lives in Boston, so that was a little weird. Jason Allison was there. That was interesting. No Jumbo Joe, still no Joe Thornton, who heard those rumors, man. I don't think he likes the Bruins. Still think he's bitter with the Bruins, which is interesting. Here we are 20 years later, had a Hall of Fame career in San Jose, got his number retired there. I don't know why he's so bitter about the Bruins, but I don't know. Anyway, so they have this whole ceremony. They bring him out on the ice, and then they bring out some youth hockey players, Zach. It was really emotional. Kids from all around communities around New England. And those Bruins greats, Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito, Cam Neely, Ray Bourque, they pass the puck to the next generation. Tears rolling down all our faces. So we usher in the second century of Bruins hockey. And they're 1-0, baby. 1-0 in the second century of Boston Bruins hockey. I was worried about this game in terms of we're going to have this great big ceremony. The Bruins have a tendency to not play well after these kinds of ceremonies. It makes me think back to the first Winter Classic where they did win, but they were down most of the game. That was at Fenway. The banner raising night against the Flyers, they lost that game. It was such an emotional ceremony beforehand. The second Winter Classic they played in, they got crushed by Montreal. So these things tend to trip up the Bruins a little bit. And they're obviously not a great team this year. And I'm thinking, boy, this is going to suck to have this kind of ceremony and that you're going to lose 3-1 to Montreal on this night. And they didn't do it, man. They exploded. 3 goals in the first period, 3 goals in a 90-second span. Charlie McAvoy played his best game of the season, hands down, and maybe the best he's played in the last 2 seasons. He scored twice. Charlie Coyle scored twice, which felt great for me as a South Shore kid to see another South Shore guy out there on the centennial day of the Boston Bruins, a big-time game, big-time atmosphere and moment. He goes out there and has an awesome game. That was representing for the South Shore. And not the South Shore that usually produces the NHL talent. Not Hingham, not Scituate, not Duxbury, Weymouth, baby. Yes, I am talking white trash South Shore town, like the same one I grew up in, just a little bit bigger. I love that. Love that for us, for the South Shore, and of course, for the Bruins as well. Sharp-looking uniforms they were wearing yesterday. In fact, they have opened it up to not just 3 players. You can even buy a blank version. So I have decided, Zach, after really talking this through the last couple of weeks, and we had it on the show when the uniforms dropped, I'm going to buy one. It's either going to be a blank one or it's going to be a Charlie Coyle one. I'm leaning towards Charlie Coyle just as a South Shore represent. But they look sharp. Don't take my word for it. Drake May was wearing it going into the game. Clearly, they sent some to the Patriots because Drake May was wearing it going into the game. So was Dietrich Wise and a couple of other guys. And when you get gifted this from the Bruins and you play for a Boston team, even if you're not in the game, why not continue to rock it? That's what Derek White said. Can we get this picture? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That's cold as hell to just be playing for the world champion Boston Celtics. You're not playing in this game. And you're like, you know what? The Bruins sent me a jersey. It looks cool as shit. I'm going to wear it. And so the whole game, Derek White is wearing this David Pastrnak Bruins centennial jersey. And I think it's awesome that the Boston teams will support each other like that. Actually, Derek White loves playing in Boston, man. He's done the Sam Adams commercials. He's going to have his own IPA. He did the duck boat thing. And now he's wearing a Bruins jersey on the sideline. That look good, Zach? Looks pretty good. He's nodding. You can't tell, but he's nodding. It looks slick. There he goes again. Bobblehead Zach. Nodding along to whatever we're saying here on the Cam Show. Zach, what is your favorite hockey jersey?
Honestly, probably the purple and green Ducks
Mighty Ducks
jerseys.
one. That's
Yeah.
a fine one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it makes me think of not to relate it back to the '93 Maine Black
But
Bears
you're gonna
team,
do it.
but I'm going
You're gonna
to.
do it.
It reminds me of the Paul Kariya, Tim Usolani teams. Oh yeah. And so like I don't know, I really loved those jerseys as a kid and even now as an adult. So yeah, I hate the black and orange.
Dude, I watched a good YouTube video a couple days ago about the Islanders rebrand in the 90s.
Oh, where it looks like
away.
the Gordon's Fisherman?
Exactly the one. Exactly the one. And it like really highlighted how much hockey fashion was taking off because like the rappers were starting to wear the jersey, like Snoop Dogg, famously the Gin and Juice video, he's wearing a Penguins jersey. And so it like really started to take off, and Starter, which we talked about earlier in the show, started to have a lot more like sideline gear and stuff popping off. And so all of these teams, like literally every team went through some sort of rebrand, whether it was an alternate or a full new set. And like, it looked cool as hell. The Mighty Ducks thing, like the Islanders one, it was, but they tried something. Gordon's Fisherman, and you remember the back was supposed to be like sea waves. So like the numbers were kind of offset. The Blues used to have that. Remember when they had like what do you call that? Like diagonal lines on it.
Yeah.
And so like Gretzky, that jersey for the Blues, because the diagonal lines going like that, it's like a regular size 9 and then like a shortened size 9 next to it. Like that was cool. You know, it kind of looks weird now, but it's like they tried something,
That's
man.
true.
They
Yeah.
tried something. And yeah, the Islanders thing did not work out, but Mighty Ducks was great. The Sharks were coming in at that time.
I do
And
like the
people
Sharks,
loved the teal and the silver. That was huge. So there was some good stuff there.
You know what?
The
jerseys-
Avalanche, I always liked the Avalanche logo and uniform.
You know, kind of
especially
on the
like them.
opposite, but who never had good jerseys, and granted, we know.
Ooh, don't tell me. Never had good jerseys.
Yeah.
The Washington Capitals.
No, there were some Capitals ones.
Their
Oddly
current
enough,
ones
the-
suck. I hate those.
But remember,
that
like
they've had
the
for 20
Eagle that
years.
they had, like in like 06 and 07.
Yes, they have an alternate like that again.
Yeah, with a little bit of tail in there. That wasn't bad.
Who had the worst uniforms?
They're not
still like, or was it just like, hey, they went to these uniforms in the 90s? They really sucked.
No, they always had them. I never thought they had good jerseys in the existence of their franchise, but they're not around anymore. They moved, or they're in a different place now.
You didn't like the Coyotes jerseys?
No, it's not the Coyotes.
Oh, good.
It's another
'Cause
team
the Kachina was awesome.
out east.
Out east.
They thrashed about.
Oh, yeah, they came in 2000.
They
never quite got
never
the-
had good looking.
They never got it right. You're right. They never got it right. At one point, I think they had Atlanta down the sleeve. Much like Atlanta hockey in general, they never got it right. Yeah, that's a good one. That never hit. Yeah. And the Jets are okay. They moved to Winnipeg, became the new Jets.
The Whalers has been one I've always liked though.
It's always a good logo.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really love the green uniforms as much as everyone else
Fair
did.
enough.
I liked their blue and green that they wore towards the end of their time in Hartford in the early 90s.
Well,
but that is a classic logo.
I think it's the Rockies minor league. That's the Yard Goats. That's in Hartford now.
Yes.
Uses the same color scheme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. AA baseball.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've called a game at that ballpark.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fine ballpark. It's whatever. It's kind of sucks to get there from the Cape, which is what I was doing it for. Anyway, that's now you've had it. Zach's favorite hockey uniform has been revealed. Zach has revealed himself to the world through his favorite hockey jersey. Anyway, we're going to talk with Pete Souza about one of the most divisive players in the history of sports, and it's right up Pete's wheelhouse, and for the team he played for, kind of my wheelhouse as well. We're going to talk about why Pete Souza loves Christian Laettner. That's next on the Cam Show.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been, no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know we always family, no matter where I'm at.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
Brandon Ingram's freshman.
How many championships did you get out of
that? 2.
Okay.
Still pretty good. Pete.
That's very
pretty good. And so the other takeaway I had from this with Laettner was if Laettner was playing today in the 2020s, if he had that same career he had in the 2020s, I think we'd be calling him the greatest college basketball player ever. And he's in the top 10. I'm not saying he's getting railroaded, but the way he played, like that is perfect for today.
Well, and you talk about how his career started. He immediately was an impactful freshman.
Alongside Danny Ferry, who was the player of the year.
Yeah, Quinn Snyder. That was the team they went to the Final Four against Seton Hall. They got bombed, but yeah, that was a great time for Duke and for college basketball because they really started to gain momentum and gain a foothold at the top because they had gone to the Final Four in '86 and they went to the title game and lost, right?
Yep, lost to Louisville.
And then they were there again in '88 and they lost to Arizona. No, or did they?
I think that was before the Final Four.
Yeah. Okay.
Laettner's career, he goes to.
Were they in the '88 Final Four?
I don't think they were. I think they were one step short.
Okay.
In Laettner's career, he goes to 4 Final Fours. He loses 2 tournament games ever. Still has the all-time record for tournament wins by a player. I don't think anyone's going to break that.
Yeah.
For again the continuity and the portal stuff, and back-to-back national championships in '91, '92, and no one does that for another 15 years. And Jay Billis, who can be a little full of himself in these kinds of situations, had a great quote about this. And he says, "Oh, you know how like you have those 1 in a million, like top 10 all time NCAA tournament buzzer beaters? This guy's got 2 of them. He got 2 of them. And what people don't remember is 1990, which is to go to the Final Four. This is the first great Calhoun team at UConn.
East Rutherford.
Yes, at the Meadowlands. It's in overtime. Zach, do we have the clip here?
This in the overtime. All right, this is interesting. UConn not playing the passer. All right, here is Laettner with the shot, and it scores, and Duke wins.
Well done, Kim. Dick Stockton on the call.
Yes, who is one of my all-time favorites. And is that Billy? Is that Billy that's with him?
Yep.
And he says right there, he jinxes it. They're not guarding the inbounder.
Yeah.
Which that is a theme we will come back to. And it's such an easy play.
Yeah.
And they go back to Laettner, off-balance shot at the end of overtime.
And
unbelievable.
By the way, to get to that game on the Thursday night prior against Clemson, Tate George hit a turnaround jumper in the corner off of a baseball pass from Scott Burrell. So UConn got to that game off a buzzer beater.
Oh,
and so that was Duke's answer. Yeah, that was amazing. That was I was on board like big time at that point. That was an Easter Sunday game.
And so you're a Laettner guy.
Yeah, I was. I mean, you gotta remember. Well, I still am.
Okay.
But that was when. Now I'm in 8th grade.
Yeah.
I'm playing basketball. Clearly, I'm white. Like it was very relatable. And so if Christian Laettner can do it, maybe I can too. Type things going on in my head. Damn, man. Yeah.
And so they get their doors blown off by Vegas.
Oof.
A really good UNLV team.
Well, they make it to the final.
Yes, they make it to the national championship game. They lose by 30.
They beat Arkansas. Right? No, they beat Georgia Tech. Yes.
Bobby Crowns.
Yeah. In Denver. Yeah.
And they lose by 30, which is still the most lopsided championship game ever. It's like they just got ran out of the gym.
Yeah.
Bobby Hurley's
diarrhea.
Shitting out everything and throwing up in the sideline, not fit to play in that game. And their backup point guard who transferred out that year, do you know who that is?
McCaffrey.
Billy McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Yes, Christian's uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And went out to Vanderbilt and did not get the next year where Duke beats UNLV in one of the great upsets in the history of the tournament, even a 1 seed versus a 2 seed.
They hadn't lost.
UNLV was undefeated and they'd beaten this team by 30 points the year before.
Yeah.
And Duke beats him in Indianapolis. Like incredible stuff. Laettner has an awesome game and he buries the 2 free throws to win the game. They win the national championship.
And that just to interject, that UNLV team, now this is back in my day, they were on ESPN, but they played very late at night.
Culturally significant team.
Culturally significant. It was one of those deals like Did you see UNLV last night play Long Beach State? Like, because again, they play late. They ESPN found a way to get them on the national game. But
They
then you
dunked
would
40 times and
you would
won
talk
by
about
40
it.
points.
Sports radio, even in a market like Philadelphia, would talk about UNLV the next day and what they did. It was nationwide. Like something was going on with this program, and they hadn't lost. And they kind of did start to be those bad boys. And then it was like,
I
oh my
couldn't
God.
believe that you weren't a big UNLV fan.
No. And then it was like, oh my God, did you hear Larry Johnson is like 30? And it was like,
And
wait
he,
a
can't
minute.
read. And,
Yeah. Did you see him? There was literally a picture of Stacey Augmon and Larry Johnson in a pool with this man named Richard the Fixer Perry. They were in his hot tub in Vegas. I mean, it was very clear what was going on out there.
And this was like, again, we talk cultural significance. I still don't know how much that happens in college basketball today, but like at the time, Miami in football, UNLV in basketball, same thing.
Yeah.
Thugs who were really
You're calling
good,
them
but
thugs.
starting five. I mean, people were calling them thugs, man. Like, I don't even think they are or were, but that's it. And Michigan's Fab Five got the same thing. And they were painted with this broad brush of thugs who don't play the game the right way, and quite frankly, very black teams.
Yeah.
Which at the turn of the 90s,
dude, it was racism.
I mean, yes, like that's still something the country is very much getting used to. HW and Dan Quayle are in the Oval Office telling you how bad the Simpsons are. You think they're going to like UNLV and Miami? Like, no fucking way, man. Like, no way. And every time those teams would slip up, it became a huge thing. You know, if they got in a pushing match or whatever. And meanwhile, here's Christian Laettner stepping on guys. And dude, there is a great. So you've seen the 30 for 30, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen a little bit. Last time I saw it was probably a couple years ago.
I had forgotten about this. There's an unbelievable clip in there from when he was in high school. So now Laettner gets painted again with a broad brush in a different way of Duke kid, white privilege, rich, and it's just not at all true.
Not true at all.
His mom was a public school teacher. He had to work as a custodian at the prep school he was at to pay tuition. And so he plays at this elite private prep school in Buffalo, and they're taking on for, I don't know, city championship or state championship, this all black inner city team that is like, we're going to take this kid out. Like, damn it, Pete. Like this white boy's got nothing on us kind of thing. Just this rich kid, we'll take him to school. And Laettner crushed him. Like they won the game by 20 points. And I think they had to call the game off early with like a minute or two to go because
the hostility.
Because Laettner blocks a shot and then gets a rebound and just flings an elbow down at this kid and starts looking forward. And it's a total melee. It's a great, it's great video that they still have from like whatever, 88 or whatever. Yeah. And there's like all out melee punches and cops out there trying to hold kids back. There are assistant coaches like punching players. It's unbelievable. And they're showing the stands at the odd, and it's a free for all. And then they show Laettner leading his team back in the locker room, finger up in the air, like just egging them all on. It is so perfect that moment comes in. It takes such a precursor.
Well, and it takes a certain type of individual to embrace that.
Oh man,
to love that, to become like the guy who goes on the road, who enjoys being booed, and he was that guy. He even, I think they touch on this in the documentary. There were rumors that he and Brian Davis, his teammate, were gay.
Because they were so close.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he kind of almost played into that.
Yes.
Like they would chant
way before, 25 years before anyone would play into that.
Yes.
JJ Redick was not doing that.
No.
You know?
And it was pretty amazing. But back to the conversation, and again, I'll let you steer this, but like he was amazing. Like he was so
one of the best college players ever.
I'm listening to, and I keep saying this, I'm almost done finally. I'm listening to the Vern Lundquist book. The most recent thing, he called the game with Clark Kellogg, where Laettner, they beat Kentucky. He hits the shot, which I'm sure you're about to talk about.
Yeah.
But Christian Laettner was perfect from the free throw line, from the floor. Vern's big regret was, as a play-by-play guy, just remember, we're not perfect, Cam. He forgot, he didn't mention that down the stretch, that Laettner was perfect, and that was like a huge regret of his. He's like, I should have built up to that. Like he's perfect so far from the floor tonight.
One more thing on Brian Davis, because I found this interesting.
I liked Brian Davis. He was good.
Good player.
Yeah.
And he's a big player in this documentary. And he came from a really, really tough upbringing, like really tough inner city thing. I think outside of Baltimore. I might be wrong on that. Or in Baltimore. And he's talking about the Fab Five, and the Fab Five obviously thinking that, we're the street guys, and Laettner's this pretty boy, and they call Grant Hill and Uncle Tom, which is like a horrible thing to say. But Brian Davis is talking about it in the documentary, and he's like, I'm more hood than any of these motherfuckers.
Oh.
Like he's like, I'm seeing Chris Webber go to something country day school. I'm more hood than any of these motherfuckers combined. And he's like, and I play for Duke, and it was so good. But that 92 Kentucky game, Elite Eight, it's cliche to say this, but I think it's true. It's probably the greatest college basketball game ever in terms of the high-end talent, the two teams,
the characters,
and
Pitino
and Krzyzewski, Jamal Mashburn obviously carried that Kentucky team.
At the Spectrum, America's Showplace, the Philadelphia Spectrum.
The context is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? Like normally you see Duke and Kentucky and you're like Clash of the Titans. But this is a Kentucky team that is a couple years removed from basically the death penalty.
Yep.
And the unforgettables, all those guys who stuck around, Kentucky kids, and now they're one step from the Final Four. They are taking on mighty Duke, which at this time is still very much in the new blood category. They'd only won one national championship. They're the defending champs. They've got the best player on the planet, and it is blow for blow the whole game.
Yeah.
And it's 101 to 100 at the end of towards the end of overtime here. Sean Woods hits this ridiculous shot, and Kentucky is going to win.
Got lucky, pretty much.
They show this home video of a Kentucky fan after the shot. He's literally freaking out. He's like, we're going to beat him. We're going to beat him. We're going to beat him. And 2.1 seconds. It is just the perfect culmination of great players, great coaching. 2.1 seconds left. Grant Hill throwing the ball from the under the basket to the free throw line. No one guarding the inbounder, just the same. And I don't have audio on this, but Zach, I think we just need to see.
3. One of the things I've seen Duke do in the past in situations like this is try for the quick pass to half court and call a quick timeout so they can get in better shooting range.
There's the pass to Laettner. Puts it up. Yes!
We talked about a quick pass to half court, but with people playing behind Christian Laettner.
So as a kid, I remember I think I was actually pulling for Kentucky at this point because Duke had no, Cam, you'll enjoy this about me. Like Kentucky was the underdog. Duke was no longer the underdog. They had gone to the summit. They'd won a championship. So I was pulling for Kentucky, and I remember seeing Thomas Hill with that emotional face. I was like, oh my God, maybe the buzzer went off. Maybe you're a kid. You're like, oh, wait. Like, but it was, I mean, that was one of the most amazing moments ever for me watching sports as a kid. No question about it.
And I got when I was watching,
a couple of my friends were at the game. So jealous. Drew Zook and Tony Hayden.
Geez,
Go ahead.
Should have them on the anniversary or something. I'm watching it last night. I had an edible. So I think I appreciated some of the stuff more. But when I watch that now, I'm like, it's like the perfect basketball play. It's art, actually. That Grant just on a dime, like this pass is not, I mean, they're not guarding the inbounder, so it's not as tough as it could be, but it's not easy. And he hits them right in the numbers. And Laettner has the perfect internal clock that he fakes one way, dribbles, which no one in their mind would dribble at that point, but he knows he has that time, and then goes the other way. Fade away. It's absolutely perfect. You couldn't have done it any better in the movie Hoosiers. Like it's the perfect play. Like that is like anything you practiced in your driveway.
And that's the end of
that's how you want.
That's his senior year.
Yes.
So
he played the perfect game.
Yeah.
He now you're defending the title, and it's all on this play.
And it was one of those things like
Mike Krzyzewski drawing up the play, Grant Hill throwing the pass, and Christian Laettner making the shot to beat Kentucky. It's all college basketball perfection in that play. It's why it's probably the greatest play in the history of college basketball, or most replayed.
And that's when Christian Laettner was. And this was before, and I'm not comparing the two at all, but it was before Michael Jordan was a guy who it was like, oh my God, you can't beat this guy. Like there became a point in time.
Cut his head off completely.
There was a point in time where it was understood that you couldn't beat Michael Jordan. And this was before that on the college level, you couldn't beat Christian Laettner. Like oh my God, you just can't beat him. Like this is
still one of the top 10 greatest ever.
And hold on, his pro career. Hold on, let's just real quick.
He made an all-star team.
Yeah, he did with the Hawks. He was not.
And was on the dream team.
A pretty good pro. I mean, a pretty good pro.
Solid. Yeah.
A very long career too.
Yeah, probably played 15 years.
Yeah, I mean that's exceptional to play that long.
But wasn't Christian Laettner the way he was in college, and so that's what people look at. Unfortunately,
is that what in the documentary did
Danny Ferry had a flame out career? You know?
Oh, Danny Ferry was awful.
Yes, like he was not a good player.
No. Did he play in Europe? I think he was
almost certainly.
There was controversy around when he got drafted if he was going to go right to Europe if he got taken by the Clippers. I think that was it. Maybe and he did.
Can I get one more quick story in here on Danny Ferry before we close this
Absolutely,
out?
Yeah.
So Danny Ferry was the first big time recruit that Duke beat Carolina for. It's the first one that Krzyzewski beat out Dean Smith for.
Bob Ferry, his father.
Yeah, so Danny is a nationally big time player.
DC kid, right?
Yes, everyone knows he's going to be a fantastic player. And so Duke was hard recruiting him my dad's last year at Duke. And Duke was playing Harvard at Cameron. And Danny Ferry's brother played for Harvard. And so what they were going to do, the Cameron Crazies, was like, you know, we're going to boo everyone, but when they announced Danny Ferry's brother, we're going to go nuts. And he's going to see how great we are. He's going to come and play for us. And so I don't remember Danny's brother's name, but they announced, you know, from DC, 6'2", you know, Bobby Ferry, and the place goes berserk. And then out of the Harvard huddle comes this like 6'10" black guy. and he goes out when they announce Ferry's name, and the whole crowd's like, like what? and the Harvard bench is just laughing.
No way. They decided to do that?
Yes.
Really? All
and
right.
I'm like, that is perfect.
That is good. Yeah.
Some great Cameron Crazy stories that I'll have to tell at some point.
Yeah, you'll have to. Okay.
I will have to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, I told you Baylor was going to win out. And they did.
You did. That's Pete Souza. Catch him on the Pete Souza Show. Cut this part out when it's in the Pete Souza Show. And we will see you tomorrow at high noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central. Be sure to like and subscribe. And we'll catch you then on the Cam Show.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to. The only thing we have to look forward to. That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned kind of the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Coming up on the Pete Souza Show, Rogue Media and ESPN's own King McClure talks to us about the NBA draft.
The team is banged up a bit.
Undressed while we're here?
No.
What is happening?
And it's partially because the team has like pretty kind of
Wrong
big
podcast,
problems.
Nick. Wrong podcast. When you're a golfer, what is the point of no return? He was the best play-by-play announcer around, in my opinion, and he made me want to continue to watch.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.